Welcome back to Car-Pinionated, our slightly irreverent show about cars, the car industry, and driving in general. With me is my good friend Glenn Packman, comedy stylist, improv comedy stylist of renown. And we're without Jeff this week, but he'll be back. Yes, yes. In any case, Glenn, so right in your, let's say, your wheelhouse, Kia has put forth that $30,000 small SUV EV, the EV3, and expects it as what is it, a 2026 model, but maybe coming next year. It seems fully formed. Why don't you give me your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I really think that people at Kia are goading me to mention my favorite car, the EX30. Drink, because if you've watched previous episodes, if you've not watched previous episodes, I like the Volvo EX30, which this car is very reminiscent of.
Very much so.
Really, really looking forward to the EX30 when it's released very shortly. And I think this is already foreseeing that I think that car, the EX30, is kind of nichey in a good way, in that it's going to capture a lot of people. Sick, fast, not terribly expensive, at the forefront of technology, all good things. I like the styling of it. I'm a fan of the Nero, which is a little bit bigger, and I think actually the slightly more boxy approach to this car works really well for it. There's a few electric car flourishes on it that I'm not, that I'm lukewarm on, but I'm lukewarm on all of those. I think many of the electric cars are just being over designed from style standpoint, and we could simplify them.
Which I would say the EX30 is not. EX30, right?
Correct. Right.
Okay.
I think all the styling cues on the EX30 are exactly on point. My biggest gripe about the EV3 is I'm just not a big fan of the wheels. Those sort of like Scrabble letterboard wheels. It looks like the board game. You can put your E here and get 1 point, and the X over here for 8. See what I did with EX. They probably have. There you go. Yes, the wheels with those. All you need is buy your own letters and put them in. You can personalize the car. All that being said, I'm a fan of the Kia Mark. We owned a Kia Sorento, 2 of them actually, 2 different iterations of the Kia Sorento. Really a superb car. They did a great job with it, and we all know that Hyundai Kia has come such an amazingly long way. So if they're going back to their roots to provide something a little more inexpensive and a little bit utilitarian and at the budget end of the class, I have no problem with that, because that's where the brand was born out of,
Yeah, I don't even think it's going back. I think it's just you're filling up all the slots. I mean, because there's not a lot of space between the Nero and the Seltos and the going on up, and they're just doing the same for the electric range, because the EV3 has a lot of design similarity to the EV9, which I saw my first one in person the other day, and it has presence. It was like, I'm here, and I'm making a statement about it.
Right. I'm still, from a stylistic standpoint, more a fan of the Telluride, just because it doesn't have the EV flourishes that I've talked about, previously. But it's a commanding car for sure. And for them to take that and put it into a much smaller floor plan is saying a lot. I'm anxious to see this car up close. I'm anxious to see what the feedback on it is, because it could very easily be a winner for Kia, especially if we're seeing a lot of people going, hey, I don't need tons of room. I need an EV to just get around, you know?
And 350 350
Yes,
mile
yeah,
range is really important because, you know, even if you shave 10-15% off of that to get to the actual EPA number or whatever the real world is, that's still 300
right.
miles. And I think 300 miles is sort of that, once you get
Mhm.
past that, it's like, it doesn't have that barrier of thought, right?
Right, right,
If I hear 300 miles, okay, I can easily go up and back to Boston
right,
or,
right,
you know,
exactly.
whatever. You can't, but I
Yep,
could.
yeah. I might,
Yeah, you come up here.
close, but
That's what you could come
yeah.
up here and go back home.
Right, exactly. And yeah, as human beings, we do that all the time. We set these little benchmarks in our mind, and that is a good one for electric vehicles. And let's be honest, I mean, where electric cars were concerned, the biggest things, at least in my mind, were range, affordability, and whether or not they were going to be fast enough, to be honest with you, I think was, initially a concern. And now we're finding that electric vehicles are actually way faster than a lot of their gas
Mm-hmm.
counterparts. So all those things are happening. I mean, we are moving in the direction of the electric vehicle, whether we like to or not. So I think all of these incremental steps that we're seeing from automakers, some of them are great, some of
Mm-hmm.
them not so great.
Yeah, and I'm still I still think that the plug-in hybrid has a big role to play.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, some of that I think remains to be seen.
right, right. They're definitely working on the cost aspect of it,
Yeah,
and that,
which
on the flip
yeah,
side, everything is expensive. So
right, right. But still, if you're in that, you're in that $30,000 range, I mean, that's well below what an average new car costs.
right.
You're a decently equipped Maverick pickup is gonna be pushing that,
Mhm.
even probably I'd have to look at the numbers. Even a Sentra, which we decided was in our $20,000, under 25,000, you
Sure.
put a bunch of equipment on that Sentra, you're probably getting close to 28,
Right.
29,
Right.
and
And also the Corolla and also the Mazda 3, et cetera. That even
exactly.
that little basic range is pushing up to 30 grand if you put anything in it. You're absolutely right.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting how it plays out. Moving on,
Mhm.
um, you did you leave a voicemail or did you send me an email about your X1 and driving in the rain?
May have
Uh,
been a voicemail because then you would understand my level of frustration better. Words on a
so
page, not so much, but
yeah, why don't you talk a little
okay.
bit about what you had a problem with?
Okay, so for those who don't know, I own a 2019 BMW X1. It's for the, and just as a sidebar, it's a pretty terrific little car. Kind of my biggest gripe is that it's got a pretty choppy ride. But my other biggest gripe is that BMW tends to do BMW things with their cars because they're BMW.
Right.
It's almost like uh, you want to drive your car the way you want to drive your car, and then there's Hans at BMW who says, "No, we have a better way of doing it, and you have to do it this way." And I am half German, so I can get away with saying that. Okay. Uh, the example that I was going to tell you about is the wiper system on the X1. And very briefly, the wiper system has three different settings. There is uh, on at a slow speed, wipe, 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 wipe. There is on at a fast speed, wipe, 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 wipe. The only other setting is called auto or automatic, and that is the automatic rain sensing system on the BMW, which should be a great thing.
Sounds like a great idea, Glenn.
It is not. It is not a great, because here's the thing. Yeah, it would be great for the car to sense how much rain is out there and adjust the wipers accordingly. And that's what the thing is supposed to do. Two problems with that. Number one, the rain sensing system is not good. Okay. And just so you know, and a PS, I have told BMW about this. When you turn it on into auto, you go into intermittent, where it does one or two wipes, and it'll do that again. And then without fail, it goes into slow speed for just a couple revolutions and then to fast speed. And it doesn't stop. It does not stop. The rain has stopped, and there is the car going, I have too much rain. And it's just, and it, I'm sorry, that's annoying. When you're behind the wheel of your own vehicle and you can't control the windshield wipers, it's annoying. The other thing is, this automatic system successfully removes the opportunity for you to set any sort of intermittent speed yourself. There's a toggle on the wiper stock that says fast and slow on it. It has nothing to do with fast or slow. That's just a carryover, a leftover part from other BMWs where you had the option of adjusting your own speed. What they say that is that's supposed to adjust the sensitivity of the automatic rain wipers, to which I say, delete expletive here, okay? It doesn't work. It does not work. The least sensitive is just as sensitive as the most sensitive, and I don't think it's actually connected to anything. And frankly, as someone who's been driving for well over 40 years now, I know what speed I need on my wipers, and I physically cannot tell this car what speed to set the intermittents at. And most of all, the automatic system does not like using intermittent wipers. It will do it just for a couple gyrations and then immediately pop onto something that's working full time. And great if you have the rain, bad if it's just drizzling out. I spent a day where I was out on the road for work for about 5 hours in the car. And it rained on and off, hard rain, soft rain, drizzle, no rain, hard rain again, drizzle. So it was constantly changing.
Right. As it does, as weather does.
Welcome to the Northeast, right? Exactly. So and ideally that automatic system should be working flawlessly. It's supposed to be one of those things that just takes away all the, any sort of effort that I would need to put into it. It absolutely did not. It was the wrong speed all 5 hours that I was on the road, all of them. So yeah. So, and then it's do-it-yourself intermittent wipers, which is if you push down on the stalk, you get a single wipe. So there I am, 5 hours of, and yeah, there's bigger things to gripe about in this world.
Sure.
Let me tell you, after 5 hours, I was ready to punch somebody at BMW, specifically the guy who invented this, or I don't know. But that it's a lot. You shouldn't be buying a car that frustrates you, especially in today's day and age.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
This is frustrating.
Right. And this leads to our second topic of the show this week, which is improvements that aren't.
Right.
And I would posit that what the hell was wrong with PRNDL?
Yeah. That would be my next example, actually.
I mean, my car is a 2012, and it's sort of the last gasp of cars that didn't overthink anything.
Right.
And PRNDL, on an automatic transmission, park, reverse, neutral, drive, low, right? And I've been thinking about this, and in the 50s, the selector for an automatic transmission was all over the place. They were in this, there was, I think, a Lincoln where they were in the center of the steering wheel. Chrysler, Dodge, Plymouth had them on the dashboard. they were all over the place, right? And somewhere around 1961, 62, they all kind of ended up on the column or on the floor, and you would pull it and move it down and let it go, and it would be in the gear that you wanted to. And then the next big change was like the interlock transmission, where you couldn't move it unless the key was on, right? That's fine. And then somewhere about within the past 10 years, like every automaker, it seems, most of them have, with probably the exception of Ford, has decided we need to change this, right? And that park is on the end of a column, on a steering wheel column, and that, up moves it into drive and backwards, and then, some of it's on the floor. And I remember we had rented a Grand Cherokee, which I'm very fond of Grand Cherokees, but I hated the transmission because it didn't, as I remember, it didn't make any sense, and I was constantly doing the wrong thing with it, and I fail to see any advantage to doing it this way.
Yeah.
I don't mind, and you've said this about your Chrysler 200. I don't mind if it's a dial, right? I don't mind if it, I don't mind if it's piano keys, right? It doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear what you're saying, and I'm gonna go out and bash BMW again because my X1 was in for work, and they gave me a loaner of the BMW X5, which is a gorgeous car and much, much, much more money. And when I got in the thing, I couldn't figure out the shifter. And I felt like a complete moron who's been driving, like I said, for more than 40 years. And I'm sitting there, took me literally a couple minutes because I put it in drive, and then I was like, where's park? And that's when the anxiety set in.
Right.
On the X5 shifter, there's a button on the shifter, which is console, not console, but it's a center console mounted, your standard spot. You have to push in that button to get it into park. And it doesn't have a P anywhere other than on this little button on the side of it. Why?
Right.
Why? And the amazing part is my X1 has a PRNDL shifter, which is great. And part of the reason I chose the 2019 is they changed the shifter for 2020. And my salesperson was like, don't do the 2020. They did this weird thing with the shifter, and now it looks like a cell phone on steroids. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. So, but I mean, literally, I was almost ready to just start blowing the horn and waving people down, saying, can I please get a lesson in how to use the most basic command in a car, which is, the gear shift? Come on. And here's the thing, we deal with improvements all the time. Sometimes they really are. The first time I saw a push button start on a car,
great.
I thought, why do we need this? As it turns out, I get it now. I get why we need it, because your keys don't need to dangle from the ignition. You can put them anywhere because it's just easier, and there's something kind of cool about it, it's just, okay, that took some getting used to, not revolutionary, but once you do it once, you're fine. Maybe it's the same is true with this dumb shifter, but there's no reason to change it. It's not better.
Right. And I would also argue that in a high tension situation, that your mind goes back to what it knows, right?
Right.
And I need to put it in neutral. I know where that is, right? I need to put it in park. I know where that is. It's not like, oh, I got to fiddle with this and then I got to push this button down here, right? And there's the very sad case of Anton, the Star Trek actor.
Yeah, Anton Yelchin. Yeah.
Right. Who, I think there was a lawsuit because he had a Jeep Grand Cherokee and he hit the gate or something like that and was killed. And, they said, it's not that the transmission popped out of gear or something. It was, if I remember correctly, it was that, you did it wrong. He did it wrong, right? Because it didn't make sense. And I just, that sort of improvement infuriates me. So my Subaru, now this is my third car with a moonroof, right? I love moonroofs. Warmish winter day, bang, that's open, right? On the Focus and on the Pathfinder, when you push the close button, you know what it does? It closes. It closes entirely. I push the button. I don't think about it. I know that thing's going to close.
Right.
On the Subaru, thoughtfully, it closes to about 6 inches. Now I've got to push that button again.
And then it stops, right?
And then it closes, right?
Because it wants to know if you're sure you want to close it.
Yeah. Are you thinking? Could you maybe want to go? And every time I push that button the second time, I go, this is stupid.
Yeah.
This is stupid. And it's and I chalk it up to like Subarus have quirks.
Yes.
Get it.
I'm going to toss out a couple more examples from the past. Let's go all the way back to 1979, our Ford Mustang. Ford decided to put the horn at the end of the turn signal stalk. Why?
Right.
Because in an emergency, I'm going to go like this and slam the end of it, if you hit the center of the wheel, there was a dummy. There was nothing there.
Right.
It looked like the horn was there. Right.
Yeah.
No idea why Ford would do that. One of those little things that kind of ruined a good design on that car too.
Yeah.
It was dumb.
And they changed it really quickly.
They did because the feedback on it was terrible.
Yeah.
Back to my BMW for a second. You have to apply the brakes to move the shifter anywhere. Now, I think to apply you should definitely have to apply the brake to go from park to reverse. Maybe even park to drive. Here's the problem. Go into a car wash with the car in neutral. And then when you reach the end of the car wash, you have to drive away. I have to put my foot on the brake to put the car from neutral into park instead of just being able to tug the lever down.
Yep.
The problem with that is that you've got a rolling thing underneath your car, and as soon as you put the brake on, it goes underneath the wheel, makes a very loud banging noise, and sets off every alarm in the car wash. That's the problem. So I have a regular pass. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah. And then you have the car behind you.
Yeah. Who could be bumping into you at any moment.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. I have a regular pass for one of these automated car washes, and I've become an expert on how to shift it. Well, the other day, Bill was driving. We went into this thing, and we literally almost caused World War III in the middle of this car wash because he got confused, and then he couldn't move the shifter, and there we are sitting. All the alarms are going off. It just once again, to just be able to tug the shifter down from neutral into park, every other automatic I have ever driven in my life no, BMW's got a better idea.
Yep.
Not better. So car manufacturers, think these things out, get some feedback,
Yeah. And I'll go back to Ford, which I think, my feeling is that they may stumble once in a while, right?
Sure.
But I really think that it looks like they have a concentrated effort to say, okay, we're going to play around with where all this stuff goes and what this stuff does, but we're not going to change it too much, right? And I appreciate that. I've said this dozens of times before. The Mustang Mach-E. If my mother had to drive one and got into it, she could look down and say, okay, park, reverse, neutral drive.
Right.
Okay. And driving, because driving is so complex, right? You have to watch, 180 degrees, be aware of the other 180 degrees, and think about so many things that the more that you can assign to just muscle memory, the better off you are, right? And you don't have to think about that, right? And you mentioned, push button start. I would argue that that the keyless ignitions are to blame for a lot of the rise in car thefts.
Yeah.
Because people just leave the keys in the car. Right. And, and I've written this story, hundreds of times about car thefts and this and that, and the other thing. And I'm just amazed. I am just amazed that, people continue to do that. And okay. And then, then they're like, well, my car got stolen. Well, you left the keys in it.
Yeah.
That's
that makes it easier. Yeah. Before we close out the segment, I do want to give kudos to BMW for something that they have put into one of these cars, which I think works. The headlights have the option of an automatic high beam sensoring system. You press a little button and it puts the car into a mode where it will turn on the high beams if it's not detecting anything coming at the car. It picks up light is what it is. Now, it's not flawless. Every now and then somebody's, 2 lampposts in front of their house look like a pair of headlights, and it goes back from high beams down to lows. Or sometimes in very hilly terrain, you don't think your own headlights are, they're making enough of a reflection. But I'm going to say let's be fair and say good 85% of the time, it operates beautifully. And that's a nice thing. Here's the thing. I can still control. If I don't want to use this, I don't have to.
Yeah.
That's the difference. That's the difference, BMW. Listen to one of your owners. That's the difference. Okay. Klaus, I will get your email address. I will send you a horrible. That I did mention before. BMW has something called BMW Genius where you can email them, and I did. And a woman from BMW reached out to me and took my complaint. I have not heard a thing back from them. Because what I want them to do, what I would love them to do, is just please disconnect the automatic rain system. It doesn't really work. Let's be honest. Give me back my intermittent wipers, please, 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 please. I don't think it's going to happen. So
it's funny you say that, because on Instagram I found this BMW sale. It looks like a sales something that was put out in the sales department, or to dealers or something like that.
Another function. You can set the timing for the intermittent wipers to a comfortable speed for you. You can actually program the time between sweeps. While you're moving, all you have to do is move the lever from the off position to the intermittent position and then back to the off position. Then you wait the desired length of time and move the lever into the intermittent position again, and you set the program into the intermittent wiper system, and this will continue to operate at that speed. And when you stop, say at a stop sign, the programmed timing will double automatically.
So when you look at that, like, this has been going on for a while. Like, I tried to follow that explanation. I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah. If I can, I watched this thing, and he has the most mansplainiest tone, and the person he's talking to is a woman, and it's almost like he's going to say the word "sweetheart" at the end of sentences. Am I wrong?
No, not in the least. Not in the least. No.
It comes across real, almost condescending. Yeah,
icky. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Anyway, all right. That wraps us up. Couple things to remind you about. YouTube. Give us a like, subscribe. It helps us out, helps out the little algorithm so more people can see it. We appreciate that. We're still looking for your weird car. If you have a car that you like that, no one else seems to like, but you like, this is the car for me. Send a picture, send an email to dstewart@fox61.com. subject line weird cars, and we'll try. We've had 2 so far. So, and anything else, Glenn? Did I miss anything? I get to the end and I'm like, I try and remember 15 different things. All right. That's it for this week. We'll see you next week. So long.